So now we're going to take our constructions, specifically today we're going to talk about the constructions we did yesterday, perpendicular bisector and angle bisector. And we're basically going to start looking at different types of triangles. For example, here the blue one for me is a right triangle, and I believe that's the first one you have on your notes, right, was the right triangle. And then the red one here is acute, and we don't know for sure that it's isosceles, but because we don't have any markings, but I can tell you the computer made it and it is isosceles. All right. And then the last one that we have that we're going to take a look at here is acute, or excuse me, obtuse. That is most definitely not acute. And what I've done here is I've just put arrows where you basically have X's, correct? And what I want you to do is basically wherever that X is, that's where I want that particular side. It's kind of like X marks the spot. I want the perpendicular bisector to go through that particular side. And so as we start this, so if I'm going to do that for this one, well, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to open this up and get ready to go, because it's this bottom side that I want to take the perpendicular bisector of, right? And if you want, do you want me to start on the right triangle, seeing that's the first one you have? It really doesn't bother me any. Let's go. We'll do that one. This is the first one for you, so this is the side I want to do, right? Do you believe that to be a good setting to try and do the perpendicular bisector? No, why is that a bad setting? You said just to keep my setting, right? Why is that a bad one? Just shut it up. It's not more than, yeah, it's too small, right? It's not bigger than halfway. And so I got to open this up a little bit. So that would be this button here. And so is that sufficient? No, that would be good, right? And now, am I going to have to do above and below, or just one or the other, or what am I going to have to do here? Both. Why both? Because how many points do you need? 2. How many do I have? 0. All right, so we need to go above and below. All right, so we'll just get our setting, and remember, don't lose your setting as you go about this. So there's below, there's above. And here's the case where if you start making big old circles or big arcs all over the place, it might start getting confusing, especially once we start doing some of the other ones. So let's go over and do that other point then. Ooh, that's not going to work very well. We'll just do it this way then. Got to plan ahead a little bit with this. All right, there looks pretty good, and I hear some of you already picking up your protractors, which is good, because that means that you've already kind of figured out what you need to do at this point. Now you have 2 points. That's very good. My arrow was just kind of pointing at the side. It wasn't necessarily pointing at the midpoint. All right, it was just pointing at a side. And so then I'm going to have to get out of here and go get a segment. All right, something. Well, that actually looks pretty good. I don't really want to mess with that too much. Give or take there, correct? Are there any disagreements with that? Now, when I'm up in the smartboard, remember, it kind of looks weird. So I got to come back here. Do you think that's a perpendicular bisector? Is it hitting perpendicular? What's bisect mean again? Cutting in half, right? So it's hitting the midpoint. I think it is, huh? So if you want to put those marks in there, you can. Which then will lead us, now that we've done one, let's see if we can't figure out what this thing's all talking about. So let's get rid of this here. Let's get that out of the way. We can. There we go. And a perpendicular bisector is a segment that hits the midpoint of one of the sides of the triangle, and I should add in there is also perpendicular. So a perpendicular segment, we'll just add that right now. A little caret perpendicular. Segment that hits the midpoint of one of the sides of a triangle. And whenever I do this section, I find that giving you some key words to think about is very helpful. Because remember, we're going to talk about 4 different segments, so keeping them straight might get a little confusing. And so some of the key words for this one, I would say that perpendicular is a very important word, right? It's a key word. It has to be perpendicular to that side. And what else do you suppose is a very important word here? Something very important to what this segment is doing or where it is or something like that. Yeah, midpoint, yep. I'd say perpendicular and midpoint are very good words. And you notice on your notes I have a spot there for key words. And I don't know why I put midpoints, but you get the idea. It's just midpoint. We're looking at midpoint. Good keywords. Well, let's go ahead and try this one over here then. So is it this bottom segment? Is it the same on yours? Right. It is? Yeah, all right. So last time you told me my initial setting was not good. How about that one? Is that going to work out okay? Well, yeah, that's going to be enough, right? Let's face it, we know about where the middle of that thing is, so just put an arc right around where the middle is. There we go. I think that's pretty good. There's 2 arcs on there right now. based on one of the endpoints. Okay. And so now, of course, I'm going to put my point on the other one. Now let's connect those two there. Well, here, I'll put them in there. One there, one there. There it is. So do you suppose if it's supposed to be a segment, is it okay if I get a little excited and say do that? Is that still okay? Oh yeah. And in fact, that almost seems as though, that's kind of curious. It's almost hitting that point up there. That's interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that. See what happens with that. So far we've done what? The acute, which we happen to know is isosceles because I told you it was. And then a right. Well, that wasn't so hard. So why don't you try the obtuse one right now on your own? I'll come around and see how you're doing. And again, do that longer side because that's where the X is, okay? So as I walked around, like I just mentioned, you were doing a great job getting much more comfortable with it. Okay. In fact, I even saw somebody who kind of didn't like their answer quite, and they erased a little bit and made it more accurate. So that's definitely it. You think that's enough? Is that more than half? Maybe a little more, huh? Now we're for sure. All right, so we'll put that one down there. Now we'll put this one up here. Now we'll move it around here. I don't know where to go with it now. Get it out of the way. Then we got that one, and we got that one. Now let's connect them. That might be the best I've ever actually connected the 2 points. That's probably I didn't even have to move that one. All right. So now you notice this one here, it kind of misses that point over there, doesn't it? So any guesses you want to make as to what type of triangle that is? We know it's obtuse, but do you think it's also isosceles based on what you saw earlier for isosceles? Yeah, probably not. It doesn't, because that would be the vertex angle down there, right? And it doesn't hit it, does it? And that other one, it sure looked like it wanted to, didn't it? So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see what happens there. That could be something of interest. Okay. And again, if you want to put the right angle there and congruent marks in there, you can definitely do that. Okay, so any questions on perpendicular bisector? No matter, you do agree, basically we took care of many different types of triangles here. And we did the same thing, right? We didn't have to change any of our strategies. Well, how about angle bisector? Yeah, well, we did that yesterday, right? So that shouldn't be that hard. An angle bisector is, again, a segment. And you must be very surprised by that definition. That cuts the angle in half. And so once again, we'll start with the right angle because, let's face it, we know what that answer is going to be because I'm actually having you bisect the right angle. And I'm sure that everybody in this class can do better than the other class because I know that you can read directions. That says to angle bisect angle B. They were just bisecting whichever angle they felt like. Okay? This one does say to bisect angle, so let's go do that right angle. And of course, blue with blue, that's not going to be acceptable, so we'll change it to green. Is that an acceptable setting to start with? Notice I put the point on the angle we're trying to bisect. Is that probably a good strategy? Yep. And is that a good setting then? Now, what's the key with angle bisector? As long as you're comfortable with it, and then don't do what? Don't change it. Exactly. Get something you're comfortable with. Get the point where it's supposed to be. And I'd say that's pretty close. Looks pretty good. And then obviously BC and BA are my two parts of my angle, right? The two rays, so to speak. They are segments here, but the common endpoint is definitely B of those. Now again, is it okay to put that whole arc in if you feel like it? Most definitely. And just caution you, if you start doing more of these, it's going to get a lot of stuff on your plate. Now you told me not to change the setting, is that correct? Okay, I won't. But then I did create a new point, so we probably should go to that point. Well, let's face it, I think we all know where this angle bisector is, right? I mean, it's right in the middle there somewhere, so go put some arcs about where that would be. And then you come down to this other one. Yeah, and there we have a new point right there. So on the other side of your notes, you did above and below, right? Could I do both sides of angle B? You could, but how come you don't have to? You already have 2 points, right? I've got point B and that point I just made, so you don't have to. It's okay if you want to. Well, that's not working. But anyway, you can do it if you want. But we already have 2, so we're good. Well, there goes my streak of doing well. There you go. Looks pretty good. Again, you can put in the congruent marks if you wish. And it let me do it for a while, and then it decided not to. So let's see if it'll let me do it again now. Nope. Oh, well. I don't want to move it too much further. Just make sure you put another mark in that other one. The smartboard's being temperamental. Any questions on that angle bisector? Anybody? No? Well, where's angle B on this one? Oh, it's one of the base angles, huh? Oh, let's go do it. Oh, you put it on B. Right about there. And put a mark down there. And a mark over there. And so what do I do for my setting now? Go halfway or something like that? No, you just keep it, right? Nope, don't mess with it. And there it is. We got 1 point there, 1 point there. We're ready to go. There it is. Cuts it in half. How about any questions on that one? Well, you should know what's coming by now. Go do the obtuse one then on your own. Once again, that looked really good. Just one thing that you'll want to know is make sure you do angle B, and you did a much better job than the other class. Most of them did angle A when they did this one. But let's face it, the other 2 were in the bottom left that you did, right? So they were just kind of not paying attention. And so you go here and you do B, because that's the one I told you to. And that might be a little big, so we'll bring that in a little bit. The only reason I said that might be a little big is I may have missed this segment down here, and I would have had to extend it. So I didn't want to do that. And so then you come here. Because again, we kind of know where that angle bisector is going to be, so you can, whoa. Well, or you just make it really big like that, you know. Of course, that's why I did that, to show you can make it really big. Is it okay that it hits the side there? I better go back and do this one again, right? Yeah, they hit, so I believe it now. I was a little skeptical there for a second. There it is. Not too bad. There it is. Once again, is it okay to say do that? Go past it? Yeah, that's fine, right? Now, are there any questions? I normally don't give a whole lot of keywords for angle bisector because I think that one's pretty straightforward. But if you had to give some keywords, obviously it's probably angle and bisect. The keywords are right there, right? Or some might say vertex in bisect or something like that. So the keywords are right there. The other 2 segments will prove maybe a little harder to remember, which we will do tomorrow. So any questions on angle bisector or perpendicular bisector? Well, the nice thing is not only is that sheet you have your notes, it's also your homework. Your job is on the side that has angle bisector, which would be this side. Do the other two for each triangle. You've done one for each triangle, right? Do the other two. And for the side that says perpendicular bisector, which is these, obviously do the other two. Okay? If you're curious as to whether you are doing it correctly, I will tell you once you are done with all three, they should connect to each other at a point. Okay? If you've done it properly, they should come together at a point.